Hello friends, welcome again. So here I am back with one of my another Android tutorial, and in this tutorial I will try to show how to build a very simple game calculator or game app in your Android studio. So what you can see is something similar of this. We will build a game where all these images will just toggle, and when you press this you will get some points. So right now it's in a very simple way, and we'll see how we can do it. We have a timer on top, we have a point system or score, and we'll design this. So let's begin. I just minimize this for the time being, and then start Android. I start a new project, and for my new project I would like to keep it in a directory called Android game app, and this I will name it as my game, and this also domain also my game. You are free to choose any of yours. If you have some fancy names you can do it. You press next. We start with empty activity. That is the layout which I like most to start with, and we'll keep the names default. So it will take few seconds to set up your environment. And please remember, this is a long video, so feel free to pause and see it over a period of time, because you may need breaks in between. Okay, so here we start first with our uh, uh, layout. Let it first finish. I will like to expand it to the full screen. We don't need this browser, so I'll just minimize this on the left hand side. Okay, so here we start. So by default it gives a constant layout. In my other videos also I have shown, so for some reasons I prefer to have it in a relative layout. It is much simpler to have a relative layout. And I go back to my design. So here I have changed my layout to a relative layout. Before I start, I'll just quickly play it in my emulator to see if everything is well connected. So here I'm expecting in this emulator my game should start once this Gradle build running this finishes Gradle build. Please do watch my other videos to understand more about Gradle build and other apps which I have developed. Yes. So this particular app is not loaded. Now this just I wanted to test, and I always prefer to test it in the start, so that it's easy for me to imagine and proceed when I'm doing my work. Okay. So coming back to the layout, first let's design the layouts. So I definitely need few text box. One is for my timer, which I showed you on the top. So this text box probably become my timer, and I set the initial value to 100, and I give it a ID called time left, or left time, amount of time which is left for the player. The width is somehow I will probably like to be a bit bigger, and there is a yellow mark. I think we'll resolve it later. First let's set up other properties. So one of the other properties is text alignment. I will like to have it towards the center, although it does not matter, because if you don't give the border, viewer, the audience won't be able to figure out that whether it's center or left. But for some reason I wanted it to be center, and you can play with the various formats. I will just try to restrict myself to as minimum as possible, because these are simple things. I want to concentrate more on the game concept, designing the app. Okay, so here I have to just define this resource, and that's fine I think for me. So I have got this resource. Now I need another text box for my score, and I think I make it a little bit center, okay, and initially I'll give 0 value, and again the width I will probably like to have it 200, and I would like it to be in the center. Looks good. Text alignment, again it should be somewhere down. It's alphabetical order, so that's the good part. It's easy to search. So text alignment will be center, and also I will like to increase the size. So text size by default is 14 sp scale parameters. I will bring it to 30. I want it big and bold, and I think that's all for the timing. Of course you can play with colors and all those things, but I think this much will be fine. I can bring it probably a bit on top. Okay, so that's done. Now what I want is, I want those buttons which we are toggling, if you have seen in the initial part. Okay, there is a yellow mark here as well, so I think it's again for this resource. If you just click here, it should take you to the, I'm not sure why it's not, yeah. So, and you have to just click fix and it will automatically create a resource for you, or you can do it manually also, and it replaces the 0 with this resource over here. Now we go and place that button. So I had placed this image button because we get the image automatically in this. From the Android you can choose your own image, but I will just try to have probably this one, this round one. Yeah, I think I will just use this one, this image, and here it comes. So this will be my one of the buttons, but since I'm trying to design a game, I will have to put lots of buttons, so probably I'll decrease the size of this button a little bit. So width probably I'll keep it around 50, or it's too less. Probably I would like to increase it to 70 looks okay. For the timing I'll decrease the height, so 70, and if I look, it looks okay to me for the timing. Of course you can again play with it, and on the left hand side you will be seeing this image button will be coming. Why this yellow mark is there? Let's see. Again there is some warning, image without content description. Okay, so we have to set the content description. We can just click fix, and it should set the content description as to do here. So these things are quite helpful, and for that first you have to set this text which will create this resource to do, and that's it. So all your warning messages are gone. So now we will give this some ID. So probably image button 1. I hope I have given the ID to the other tools. This one is text view, this one is time lapse. So this one probably I will change from text view to total score. So here is what the score of the player will be visible. So that's why we are starting with a 0 initially, and we are giving around 100 seconds for the player to finish his game. Now once we have this, we can just simply do the copy paste. That's much easier than bringing the new image and setting up the size and all those things. So rather than that, we can also do here Control C, copy, and then we can do Control V. This will create button tools. In this view you can't see because it's overlapping, so you have to just drag it like this. Yeah, so in my initial video I've shown that I had 12 buttons, but for the sake of time I'll just create 9 in this, because once you learn the concept it will be probably very easy and simpler for you to create as many buttons over here and do the toggling. Okay, and if you notice that it's automatically taking the IDs correctly. It's automatically increasing the button IDs as you are copying, and all the other settings are being done automatically correct. So you don't have to worry much. Now we do a Control C, Control V, and please be careful that you have to do it one by one, because if the layout, you have to take care of the layout. All the buttons are placed nicely, so that is a part you should be a little careful about. And so this is my button 6. Comes my button 7. Yes. uh, now comes my button 8. Now comes my button 9. Okay, so here it is. I do a save. Before we go to the Java code, I'll just quickly like to run and see if all the buttons have come nicely. Again, switching to my other app which I just created before this video, and yeah, everything looks good. The only thing is there's too much of space here and it's going in the corner, so we can probably shift these buttons a little bit on the right hand side and it should be good. So let's do that quickly. So if we do this, looks good, and we do a save and we go back and run this. So yeah, now it looks good. In the meantime, first, yeah, so I have two applications running in this emulator. Now let's jump to the Java code. So in Java, you will by default get the on create, of course, activity. So some of the parameters which we'll need is private, and we need text view, and we have to define two variables, time left and one was total score. Please note, although I'm keeping the same name over here what we gave it in the layout, but you are free to choose another different name, and don't get confused because this is the name in your Java code and the IDs which we have given is in the layout. So although you can give the same name also, but you can choose a different name. I prefer to choose the same because it helps me in identifying them. Now what I need is, I think, image button is what I need, and I have around 9 image buttons, so I will create image button 1, and probably I will need 9 times this. So this is the reason why I went only with 9 for this video and not with all the 12, because the more the buttons you have to just create more. So it's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So last one is semicolon. I have to just change quickly one by one all of this index 7. You are free to choose some other mechanism also, array and all those things, but I prefer to have it all the buttons in an individual object in Java, because that gives me a better control. Now in my own create, let me first assign the values of all these or create these objects. So time left is find view by id. This is r.id dot, and I think it's by the same name. So here it helps if you keep the same name. It helps a lot over here to me. So total score is equal to, again, find view by id r dot id dot total score. Yes. Similarly, I will do for image buttons as well. So I will just image button 1 equal to find by view by id r dot id dot, I think it was something button 1. Yes. So I give it a semicolon, and I think for image buttons I can just do a control C and control V. 9 times 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So now I go here and I quickly change it. And I have to change over right hand side also, because I can't have same ID for button changes. Sorry, I have to choose this 9th one. Yes. So now all my objects are created. So the next step will be, if I go back to my layout, or better to my emulator also. So if you saw, I have to toggle these elements based on some timing. So what I chose was, like, in each second only one of these will appear, and the player have to click on those images to increase his score, and he has a limited time of 100 seconds. So the more the scores he gets, the more the clicks he does, the more the scores he gets, and that way the highest scorer can be recorded. I am trying to design a simple game here and not going for a complex one. Of course, you can introduce levels and various complexities and recording, but right now let's focus on the simple and how to do it. So for this we will need some kind of timer which can keep a track of it. So for timer we can use the timer this. We just have new timer, and then yeah, so this is inbuilt Java functionality timer, and we can make it final because anyway we are not going to change its value anywhere else. So I'm not sure why this lid is coming, so cannot resolve the single final. I am not sure why. So okay, for the time being I'll just ignore it, and I will just continue with t.schedule. So I'll call it at a fixed rate this timer, and again I will create a new time task. So if you notice, the moment you create a new time task, it will automatically create a run function where you have to do your main operation. But before I go into the run operation, let's keep it empty and blank, and first try to complete this fixed rate, because the syntax of this is, first we have to call the method what we want to do, and after that we have to give it so I think we have to give it a period and the start. So start is from the immediately when our game starts, and the period, so period I think I will keep it of 1 second, so it's in milliseconds, so it's 1000 millisecond. Yeah, so each second now this particular whatever method we write in this run, it will be called. So first thing which I will like to write is, when do we cancel this timer? It should not run for infinite time. So that we can do by, if I go back to my emulator, we'll keep reading this value of this text. And okay, now if we have so better, let's switch to this view where we can see the side by side both emulator and the our Java code, and see how it works. So we will we'll keep a check whether the value of this text box goes to 0, and in this, of course, in this we will decrease this later on. So first put a check, and that value comes in time left, this time left object. So we keep time left and get text, and we compare it with if it equals to, so equals, and if it equals to, say for example 0, so get text will return me a value in probably in the format of string. So we can compare it with 0, and if it's true, then we can do t dot cancel. Yes. So this should cancel this operation. So this is the first check we have put. Okay, so now here it's giving that warning that it should be declared as final, and let me go and put a final. Yes, so now my t becomes final. So once we have cancelled this timer, now let's write what would be our main operation. So one way is we can write the complete function here, or rather than that, I will prefer to have a separate method which will be called, so public, I don't think I need to return anything, and public void, and the name of the function could be toggle buttons. And as of now, I don't think I will be passing any argument also to this. So once I have this particular method, I have to just call this method from toggle button. Yes. So this particular method will be called from inside done. But one thing you should note is, since in this toggle button we'll be playing with the layout, and the layout, the UI of this layout will be running in a separate thread. So we can't do it directly over here. We have to call that run UI. So we call run on UI thread, because this is a separate thread, and we call new runnable, and this will create the another run function. So we should call our toggle function better within this toggle, within this run function, and not outside of this. Yes. So inside run, first it will do a check of whether it's equal to 0 or not. If it's 0, it will cancel. If not, then it will go inside and it will run it. Let me see this if. I think I did a mistake. I have put this run on thread within this if, but it should be in fact out of this if. So I do a control X, and I want to go out and place it here. Yes, this looks good. So inside this run, we have to call this. Now we can go ahead and write this toggle button function, which is here. So in this method, what we have to do is first we have to set the decreasing counter of this clock. So that we can do very easily is we can again take a integer value, say for example time, and in this we read the value from this timer, and that we can read is time left dot get text to string, and then we can parse it using an integer parser for the integer value, integer dot parse dot int, and once you have parsed it, it becomes an integer, and then we do a -1 to decrease this time in each particular run. And once we have done it, then we will set this time variable to this particular object. So we'll just call it again time left dot set text, and we call this time, and we do a toString. I think this should be sufficient. If needed, we can just quickly run and see if this is holding true or not. So we'll just call this, and we wait for our Gradle to complete. Yeah, if you can see, this particular timer is going one by one decreasing. So we have 100 seconds to run to play this game. Of course, I'm kidding. Let's first complete our program, because we have not yet till now not given any callback functions to these buttons. And one thing more, we should note that after 100 seconds it should stop, because we have given this t cancel command over here in line number 40. So that also we can test when we are doing the other parts. In the meanwhile, we can do the other parts of the program. So once this is set, what we have to do is now we have to play with the visibility of these buttons. We have to make one of this visible at one particular point of time. So, and that I will like to do it randomly. So I need a random number creator. So that by creating a random some r equal to new random, and now we can use this r to create the random number. So now we can have an integer index of which can call the r next int, and we need to limit this to value 3. So the things which I'm trying to do is, for each row I will just create one of these images. So we will have at any given point of time 3 images blinking over our screen. So if you have noticed, it has gone till -28, 29, and it's not stopping. That means this particular code somehow did not work. Now I'm just wondering whether it's because I have done the equal to with a string, with a character rather than a string. Is that a problem? So let me just quickly do one thing. Let me change it to string. Otherwise, one more option we have is we can change it to a integer type and change it over there. And I would like to comment it out for the timing and just run this. So anyway, to let's start. So in the meantime, I can continue my programming. Okay, yeah, got it. So we'll keep a check on this, what happens there, and in the meantime, let's continue. So we were doing something like we gave the bound to 3, but this bound will be for value from 0, 1, 2, and and I will like to have it in 1 2 3 format. So now we have this an integer, a random number value which is coming. So now I will play this switch case where I will call this random number, and one by one, based on my switch case, I'll make one of these visibles and others invisible. So that part I can do here. So case, if it's 1, probably do this. So in this case, now I have to make one of the buttons. So image button 1, probably when it's set visibility, I will make it visible. So view dot visible, just type visible and it will come in Android Studio, so you don't have to do much. So I'll set this one to invisible and I'll set others to invisible. So I will set, say for example, button 2 and button 3 as invisible. So I make it invisible, I make it invisible. So now if my eye is 1, the first part will be on and the rest 2 parts will be off. Okay, so one more check. So here it stopped. So that means the mistake was that single quotes I had given. So we should not compare it with the character, but since it's a string, we should compare it with a string. So when we have compared it with 0, it stops at -1. Probably we can compare it with 1 so that it stops at 0. I'm not sure why it goes one more step. Ideally it should have stopped at 0, but probably we should understand the logic of this timer. Okay, so let me first complete this part of the code. So we have given the switch case for 1. Now we have to do the same thing for the other cases. Before I do that, let me give a break statement here, because once this is hit, I have to break this case. Okay, so I just copy paste same. For this is for 2 and this is for 3. So for 2 I change it to 2, and for 3 I change it to 3. So for 2, my first one will be invisible, my second one will be visible, and third is invisible. And for 3, my first is invisible and my second is also invisible, third is visible. So if it comes 3, this will be visible. If it comes 2, it will be visible, and if it comes 1, it will be visible. Similarly, we'll do for rows, second row and third row as well. So let's do that. So this is the one of the switch case. Now we can copy paste this complete switch case and including this I part. So because I would like to have a separate variable, this is for the second row. Let's do this first. I'm not sure what it came here. Okay, so I'll make it from I to J, and this also J. I keep the same random R because I assume that it won't be a repetitive, it will give me a next random number, but that we will of course check when we are doing the actual coding. Okay, so this is my J, and when J is equal to 1, so now we don't need buttons 1 2 3, but we need buttons, sorry, it will be 4 5 6 4 5 6 4 5 6, and I think rest of the things you can leave as it is, because when it's 1, it will be 1 will be visible, when it will 2 will be visible, and when 3 is 6 will be, this will be visible. You can of course give it randomly as and when you wish, because anyway we are trying to be as random as possible here. So now when we have done it for J, now let's do it for K. So I copy paste this part again. So I changed for the third row as a K. Yes. And I think here we have to change it to 6 is done. So 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9. So this is a little tedious part. but once done it's just a one-time operation. So I think we are done. So now we can start playing and see if my images starts toggling or not. So see, it's toggling. Oh, wow, wonderful. So this is how I wanted. So randomly my images are coming and I had to click on button to get the scores. Still we have not given the scores callbacks. So now let's start in our code giving the callbacks. So for callbacks we'll write a separate methods. So this method ends here, the public void toggle button. So probably I'll put a hint here. Toggle button ends. Okay. So now I will have a new method called public void button 1, and I view and let me see. No, I need this bracket. Yes. So now we need to set the value of this. We need to increase the value of this by a specific number when this particular button 1 is pressed. So again what we'll do is we'll take the integer and we'll take the current score, or we will take the score just that's fine, and we'll read from the total score the value which is in a text format, and get text to string. And yeah, if you have noticed, this stops here at 0, all this toggling stops. So wonderful. And this is how I wanted to build my app as well. And here in the coming back to the script, I would like to parse it for the integer value, and I give this as an integer value. So now my whatever my current value over here in this text box comes here in this score. So once it is there, probably now we can decide that when this button 1 is pressed, what we want to do. So probably I want to increase this value by plus 50. I want to give it a plus 50 to the no, but why I'm doing it inside the parser. So I think parser I should leave it as it is, and I should do it outside plus here. So this score should be increased to by 50, and then we just write this back into this total score. So total score dot set text, and we call a score, and we just change it to string, and that should be fine. I think we can of course test it, and but let's complete the others callback as well. So this is for button 1. We'll do it similarly for other buttons as well. So button 2, so we can have it something like Control C, Control V, button 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes. Now one by one, first let me change the name, otherwise it will just give this red error as if we are committing some big crime. Okay, so it's button 2. But sometimes these ideas are really helpful, that it prompts you beforehand, and it's not like you have done a hell lot of coding and later on you realize that, oh man, that we missed lots of things. So it's button 4 here, and then button, and then 5, button 6, button 7, button 8, 9, and that's it. Yeah, and the code inside this will remain same. We could have called only one of these operator also if you want to simplify your code, but the reason why I kept 9 different code is because I want to change these values, because I don't want to keep it straightforward 50 50 50, because then people will be able to guess. Probably I will give 50 for all these corners buttons, and for the middle ones I'll give less, so 50 for corners. So button 1 is, button 3 is also fine, and this for the middle ones, all these 4 middle ones I'll probably give 30, so I will change it button 2 to 30, button 3 again it will be 50, 4 will be 30, button 5 we can come later, 6 will be again 30, 7 is 50, this will be 30. So now we should have 4 buttons with 30, and 4 buttons with 50, and this button 5 probably we can give it probably less or more. Okay, so you are free to choose your scores, and but this is how I want to choose. So once you have given these values, so now let's set the callbacks in our layout. So we go here. Do you see on click? Yes, I can see on click. So you have to just one by select. This is for button 1. Button 2, don't do mistakes here. Otherwise you press button 1 and callback of button 2 is called. To simplify your code here, you could have written one method as well, as I will repeat, but I prefer to have a better control on each and every button, because in case you want to do more things later, you can do it. Button 6, button 7. If it doesn't come, you have to probably scroll it down. Button 8, and probably button 9, and you have to just save and then play it. So let's see. Now our game is done. As far as I think our coding is done. Yes, so we have 90 seconds. Just press. So people will be getting confused what to press, what not to press, and you don't know. So see, so you have to be very careful. And since I'm playing on an emulator, so once you transfer it on your mobile phone, it may be much more easier for you to play with two buttons, or two hands, two fingers. You can press quickly whichever buttons you want, and you can get as many scores as possible. See, oh man, so and your timer is running fast, so you have to click. And so right now we have not given an option of saving these scores what we get. So we can also include that we store the last highest score, and if the highest score is greater than the previous highest score, we update that. But those things I will just skip for the moment, for this video, and probably I will like to introduce that in my next video. I hope you like this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you need more updates on Android apps or tutorials on Android. For any questions, feel free to comment on my video, and I'll be glad to reply to you. Thank you once again, and have a nice day. Bye.